It is a beautiful day out here today. Actually, really muggy and humid and kind of hot. I shouldn't have worn these insulated pants, but anyway. Today, I thought I would do a little bit of an experiment as to whether or not I wasted my money spending them on compensators. Are they worth the money? Pros and cons and yada yada yada. I'm mostly just going to be doing some build drills to actually test their efficacy, whether or not I wasted my money, see if they're actually effective or not. I'm going to do a pretty simple experiment. I'm going to be using a shot timer to look at my splits, and then I'm going to check my accuracy on a target that is about 7 yards away. I'm going to first warm up as much as I can using just my regular DR920 without any attachments on it. Yes, I lost the thread protector. And then once I'm warmed up, I'm going to do a few build drills, and I'm going to check the splits, going to check my accuracy, going to try one compensator on, then I'm going to try the other compensator, do the same thing, just doing build drills, isolating out as much as possible, see how much of a difference they make, and see if we run into any problems. So this is the Shadow Systems compensator, and then this one is the Division Sparc MV1 or whatever. Both of them had pretty good reviews. I don't really care about like how many ports something has, like how much it actually makes a difference. The bigger concern for me, however, in terms of all the pros and cons that are out there, is going to be holster compatibility, because with the Shadow Systems one, I'm going to have to Dremel out a good bit more than the Division Sparc. And that is because the Shadow Systems one, it has a part that extends downward in front of the recoil spring, and on the holster that I'm using, which is an Alien Gear Rapid Force Duty holster, right where the recoil spring would be for the pistol, there is a retaining screw there that holds part of the holster together. If I were to try and Dremel out a hole to fit the Shadow Systems compensator, I might have to drill out part of that screw, or that screw entirely. So I'm not sure if I want to do that, whereas the Sparc is not going to extend downward that much, and it would be much easier to just simply widen out the open port at the bottom of the holster. So that's, I'm kind of rooting for the Sparc to be good, but it's got 3 ports on it, and so hopefully it won't cause any reliability issues. I recently shot with some really cool dudes, and shout out to those guys. You know who you are. They had some issues with some of their compensators on their pistols. If reliability is compromised, no, I'm not going to do that. So yeah, just gonna warm up here, talk about the pros and cons later, but I'm more interested to see what kind of difference they even make, if it's even perceivable or not. So here's the warm-up montage, I guess. I'm gonna bring it closer. Mind frame, kind of. Yeah. Right grip. Yeah, that's annoying. That was weird. Damn that grip. Alrighty, so here is the baseline. I'm going to do 4 build drills, and I'm going to start without anything on the muzzle, obviously, just no compensator, just gonna see my performance, gonna check my times, gonna check my hits, do that 4 times, and then gonna put on one compensator, repeat it, put on the other compensator, repeat it, see what the differences are, and then do some malfunction testing. So let's see how that goes. Alrighty, here we go. Nice group. I'm going to now go attach the Shadow Systems comp and see how it goes. Alrighty, got the Shadow Systems installed on here. Got eye protection in case this thing explodes. Honestly, I'm kind of scared, but we'll see how it goes. Here we go. Does not fit in the holster because it bottoms out. All right, that was pretty concussive. That's weird. All right. Yeah. Ooh, that's weird. That's weird, man. Okay. So, quick thoughts on the shadow system. It's definitely smoother. It's definitely a lot softer. I don't think that the gun is necessarily, at least I don't perceive it. I don't see that my gun has less muzzle flip. It's more like the impulse of the recoil that's hitting me is just softer and it's just nicer. I don't necessarily need to tighten or loosen up my grip any more or less, though it is softer, so it might encourage me to do that. But for me to still get good shooting performance, I still have to grip the gun the same way for me. But that's just with the shadow systems, and it only has one port on the top and that's it. Yeah, I would definitely prefer to have this on my gun rather than not have it, but again, with the whole like, if I'm gonna put it on, I need to like Dremel out part of the holster and everything, and possibly part of that screw. Yeah. Now I just want to do a quick malfunction test. All right, just a quick reliability test with the shadow systems. Again, it's only got one port, so I'm thinking that it's gonna be fine. But we'll see if I've ever run into the issues. But we'll see if like it doesn't lock to the rear, for example. Lock to the rear there. Lock to the rear there. That was interesting. That shell casing was seems fine. Okay. Alrighty, got the Sparc on here. This one I am positively terrified of. The instruction manual says to apply blue Loctite directly onto the barrel threads, which I've heard some people say you should. I've heard some people say you shouldn't do that. Also, the screws that push directly onto your barrel is only 11 inch-pounds. So I'm kind of scared. This one has 3 ports. Take some test shots here. That is, wow, that's, oh no, that's not good. My dot is failing. Well, I guess we're doing point shooting. So, here's take 1. I'm point shooting. Like, I don't see a dot. There's no dot when I'm shooting there. After the first shot, the dot goes away, and then I'm shooting fast enough that the dot doesn't come back, so. Okay. Hey, not bad for point shooting, huh? Not seeing a dot or anything, just shooting blindly, hoping that I'm hitting the target. All alphas, I'm happy with that. Okay, interesting range day. My Steiner is failing. That sucks, but I guess I'll send it in because I heard their warranty is pretty good. At least I hope it is. On the brighter side of things, I was point shooting, not able to see my dot at all, taking a shot without, even though my dot should have been there on the A zone, it's not there. Take a shot, my hit was an A zone. So I'm quite happy with that. Been working on grip a whole lot. I think that really probably hits home, at least I hope so, to about your skill level. I'm not trying to say like I'm super high skilled or anything like that. I'm a terrible shooter, but it's like if people are talking about like, oh, what if your optic goes down? Then you got to go back to your irons. Well, it's like, at least at this range, I probably wouldn't switch to my irons mid-volley. That's probably not going to happen. You could talk about like shot accountability, but as far as that situation of you need shots out right away, I lost my dot, did predictive shooting, ended up hitting the target. So I'm happy with that. I'm happy to see that at least. Won't let it get to my head though. So talking about the compensators for a minute, I'll say both of them feel pretty much identical. You would think that the one with 3 ports would feel a little bit better than the other one. No. I will say it doesn't feel like the gun is cycling slower or cycling smoother. It's more like when you get kicked by that recoil, It's like the kick itself just was a little softer. You still feel the punch. It just kind of takes the edge off, and it's kind of nice. The Arc Division Sparc, it shoots a lot of gas sideways. That's fine, but it's kind of a lot of gas in your face. And I had wind blowing this way, so every time I shot, I just had like this a literal cloud of gas just hitting me in the face there. So, you know, so comfort-wise, but I think it's probably worth it not having to Dremel out the screw and whatever. So besides, I also think this looks a little bit nicer personally than the shadow system. So talking a little bit about the compensators, let's talk about the pros. Obviously, slightly better recoil control, slightly keeping the gun flatter. I don't think it actually does that much. I don't think anybody who shoots well with a compensator doesn't shoot well without it, unless they're like a new person who's all right, well, hopefully the wind is behind me now, so it's not going to be interfering with the mic. So I don't think anyone who shoots with a compensator shoots any better or worse without it, unless they really refined their technique down to like the microscopic level of like getting that perfect return. And they've only done that with a compensator, and then they go back to not using a compensator, or a smaller size gun without a compensator, or a heavier gun without a compensator. I don't think it matters that much personally. And to that point, I would say I don't think that the pros necessarily outweigh all the cons all the time. Is it going to make you lazy? Is it going to make you a worse shooter? Is it going to affect your performance when you go back to a gun that doesn't have one? I think if you're training diligently and spreading out your weapon usage, so to speak, you're actually shooting other guns, I don't think it will. It is very nice to have a slightly softer recoil impulse, but I'm not personally one of the people that are trying to keep the gun as flat as possible. I'm not trying to keep my sights perfectly level every single time and like keep my dot on the glass. If you can do that, great. I'm not one of those people that do that. Maybe I should. I've tried like all sorts of grips now, and unless I'm just really super hard camming into the gun to the point where that's actually negatively affecting my shooting performance, doesn't matter if I can see my dot on the glass the whole time. My shots suck. So one of the bigger cons would be holster compatibility. Now, a lot of holsters, especially level 1 holsters, have open ends, so putting a compensator is not really going to make a difference. But in my case, for the Alien Gear holster, I'm going to have to Dremel out part of it, and that's fine. But like I said, with the shadow systems, it reaches down far enough that it hits one of the screws. If I were to try and put the shadow systems on, I have to take out that screw basically and Dremel out the material there. So I don't want to do that. I don't want to compromise some of the reliability. So another negative point for compensators, I think that was kind of the bigger deal for me. So I think they both perform the same. I would say I probably prefer shooting the shadow systems, but not so much that I would compromise my holster. Another negative point is probably just going to be simply cost. They're pretty cheap-ish, $70, $100-ish for whatever. I think the bigger problem is not going to be necessarily cost, because they're not that expensive in my opinion. But what you actually do get out of it, I don't think it's worth the money. The bigger problem is going to be reliability. And I was wondering if I had to maybe go to a lighter pound spring. I brought all that here as well, but it ran fine without the lighter spring on the recoil spring. I think I got my answer. I think I'll probably go with the Sparc just because of the fact that it feels the same. I will say the gas kind of sucks, but whatever. But it's going to be easier to Dremel out part of my gun, and it looks cooler, at least in my opinion. So I got to send this optic into Steiner. Shit.